Yeah, anytime you get one of the best teams in the country coming into your place, or you get an opportunity to play them, those opportunities don't come around every day. There's 367 Division One men's basketball teams in the country, and these guys are in the top 10. So it's just these opportunities. You don't know if they're going to come every year, and so you got to try to seize the moment. And certainly these guys are deserving. Obviously they're in first place in the Pac-12. I've played a very tough schedule. I think they're number 4 in the net today. Been top 5 pretty much all year in the net rankings, and obviously the longer the season goes, the more I think those net rankings tell you, what kind of teams truly are. And so, yeah, I think for you when you coach 18 to 24-year-olds, um, they see it and they get super excited about it. And our fan base, I hope, is really excited about it. And hopefully they'll come out and support our team on Thursday afternoon or Thursday evening.
You hung really tough with them in Tucson for a half. What can you garner from that performance as opposed to any bowl
Yeah, they're in a, like I said, they're an elite team. They have one of the best home courts in the country. It was a 3-point game at halftime, and then about 5 minutes into the second half, kind of got it up to that 9 or 10 point and game, and then late in the game it kind of got away from us a little bit there, but they're really good. They don't have a whole lot of weaknesses. They have 5 guys on the floor that can score at all times. I feel like this is the best defensive team Arizona's had in my limited time in the Pac-12. They can do a lot of different things on that end. They're very, very athletic. They have a lot of different guys. They're pressing more than they typically have. They do a great job of owning the paint. Like, they really flood to the ball. They have great size, so it's hard to score inside on them. I think the teams that have had some success or have found ways to win or found ways to keep it close, you got to be able to make some threes because they just do such a great job of owning the paint. So they just put a lot of pressure on you on both ends of the floor. Last time down there, we did not do a great job in transition defense. It starts there. They have some greyhounds now. They can get out and they can go and attack you in a lot of different ways. And then the second thing, we did not take care of the ball the way we needed to. I believe they scored 18 points directly off of our turnovers. And so that's the thing. There's going to be some turnovers in this game, like there is any game. But what you really got to try to avoid is the catastrophic turnovers that, the old football analogy, the pick sixes, right? You got to avoid the turnovers that leads to direct offense for them. And so we can't allow our offense to be their best offense. Those are the 2 areas I thought we really did not do a very good job with down there. And that's, at the end of the day, was the difference in the game.
Speaking of home court advantage, you guys have been slowly building that back
Yeah.
up here, undefeated here. And perhaps the one weakness Arizona does have is going on the road. How do you kind of use those things to your advantage?
Well, this year in college basketball, I don't know if it's not overstated because it's real. What did I see in the top 10? Typically, the top 10 wins on the road at above 70%, and this year it's like 37%. So like the worst ever, I think, was around 64 or 65%. So it's almost cut in half this year compared to any other year. So like an amazing stat. So, and I'm not sure exactly why that is, but when we're at home, obviously there's some built-in advantages when you're at home. You're used to the environment. You have the home crowd. You have your normal kind of routine. There's a lot that goes into it. But at the same time, like, we just do what we do. We prepare for our opponents. I think we've had a lot more fans consistently show up to our games this year as compared to the last 2 years, and I think that really impacts winning. I've said that many, many times, and Arizona's a great example. I mean, they're basically sold out every night, and you feel that fan base, and it's really, really difficult to win there. So we're gonna have to play a really good basketball game. You never have to play perfect, but we're gonna have to play a good basketball game and come in there with a great game plan. And this is an environment that I know our guys are super excited to compete in.
2 straight games that Brandon's been in single digits.
Yeah.
Obviously, he does other things defensively, and he's a really good passer as well. But is he still adjusting to a team's trying to take him out of the game?
Well, it's a few things. First of all, with Brandon, he has had 2 games in single digits. Those two teams were certainly saying you're not going to beat us, right? And so both those teams did a great job of every time he touched it in the post, they were double teaming. And so, Brandon's a team guy, and he's going to make the right play all the time. He has come a long way as a playmaker that way. But at the same time, that being said, he's used to that. I mean, the last 2 years where we did not have a ton of offense, specifically 2 years ago, and then last year, especially once Gabe went down, I mean, the whole game plan was to take away Brandon, on a nightly basis and make the other 4 guys beat him. So I'm not sure there's a coverage that he hasn't seen. And I would say all 3 years, but honestly, this year, you got to really decide how are you going to guard pick and roll when he's setting the ball screen? How are you going to guard him in the post, right? Who are you going to put on him? Are you going to put a bigger guy on him, a smaller guy on him, or somebody in between? And to his credit, there's not much he hasn't seen. So we're pretty used to that. It just so happens the last 2 games, they're just saying, nope, other guy's got to beat you. So, and one time it's worked out well for us, and the other time it didn't work out so well for us. So we just got to be prepared for everything. We know their scheme, what they've shown on tape anyway. Obviously, teams can always change it up and throw in new things, although that can be difficult to do at this time of year. Once you hit February, teams are trying to hit their stride, and certainly there's always some newness, but you kind of want to finish the season with a flourish and be playing your best basketball. So sometimes when you're introducing all kinds of new things, that can be hard to do. John, are you running this show here, or who's running this show? You standing here to be who's trying to be a spectator here, and look at this guy trying to get a coffee break in. What do we got, John?
I'll go. No.
Right, yeah, right, exactly.
How will you guys try to slow down Caleb Love?
Man, that's a great question. These eyes are a little darker than normal. He's a dynamic player. Boy, he's really, really good on the offensive end. He can do so many different things, and he's so talented. Unlimited range. I mean, that guy can shoot a 26-footer with just effortlessly, and you don't even, it's just so easy for him. He plays the game at his own pace. He's, as the NBA guys would say, he's a 3-level scorer, right? He can shoot it as soon as he crosses half court. He's got an excellent pull-up game, and he's a guy that gets to the rim and gets fouled. He's really good off a pick and roll. He's really good in transition, as is their team, but he's a willing runner. He doesn't just saunter up the floor. He sprints the floor, and so he puts a ton of pressure on you that way. And, when you have an elite scorer like he is, and make no mistake, he's an elite scorer, I don't know that you can just do one thing. I think you got to be able to mix up your coverages and throw different things at them. And I think you got to maybe guard them with some different guys because a guy like him, after, you're going against the primary defender, the guy that starts the game on him, he starts to get a feel for that guy and what he can do. And so, he starts getting comfortable. So I just think you got to throw a lot of different things at him and mix up your coverages to try to take him away. And so, and that's difficult to do because when you start doing that, now that it really opens, it's kind of what teams do with Brandon. Now it opens the floodgates for some other guys. And they literally, this is what good teams have. There's a reason they're in the top 10. Obviously, they're very good defensively. They're very athletic. And then there isn't a guy on the floor, and they're top 8, and they basically play 8 guys. There's not a guy on the floor that can't score the ball or make plays for others. So it really puts you in a pinch, and you got to really kind of pick your poison, so to speak, as the old coaching cliche goes. But I've been very, very impressed with him. The other thing I've been super impressed with him is I think he's really become a much better player. Obviously, he was a catalyst on a national championship team. Like, that's hard to do. But I feel like he's really become a better player and a complete player of just making more of the right plays consistently for his team. And so he's very good.
Last time you faced Arizona, it feels like one of the turning points was when Kava went out
Yeah.
with the injury. That really changed things for you. How important is he to your game plan taking on a team like that? And then also, if I remember correctly, you guys didn't have Davon available to you at that point either.
Well, so Keba, so first of all, Ballo, high level guy, right? 1,000-point scorer, scored his 1,000th point against us, as did Pelle Larson. But Ballo he's a load, and there's a lot of really good big guys in this league. Oh, I mean, you just go right down the league, and there are dominant big men in this league, and Ballo's certainly no different. So that was tough. I think if I remember right, Keba played like 4 minutes in that game. He came down with an ankle, landed on somebody's foot going for a rebound, and so it definitely changes us. At the same time, it seems like we're getting awfully used to all these injuries happening. So it's kind of, you just almost like you expect it in a weird way. But, without Keba's such a force, right? Keba plays with elite force. And he does things that are very difficult to teach with his athleticism, his speed, his strength. And he impacts the game. Elite rebounder, great shot blocker. So, of course, he changes us. And we were just without Lawson for 5 games, counting the game. He got hurt 3 minutes into the game. So that changed us, right? So to be able to have both these guys back and hopefully for the whole game, that really helps because the physicality that Keba brings to the table and that Lawson brings to the table, you got to have against a team like this because they're just so physical and rugged in the paint, and Ballo just clears you out. And so so you got to be able to have, that type of thing. And then it changes the way your rotations go. That game specifically, Lawson had 3 fouls in the first half. So you're trying to negotiate that whole thing, right? And now you put, Ben Carlson on Ballo some, BC of course some, but it changes your whole rotation, your depth, and honestly the way you got to attack these guys and play these guys. And the other thing, Cable's a very good screen roll defender. So they're constantly running pick and roll, and he's really good at that. So that also helps our guards out, with our pick and roll defense.
You got Lawson back. Is there any update on Raleigh? How much closer he is to returning?
Real quick on Lawson, I thought he was outstanding the other night. Obviously, he had a different, the game was really important to him. They all are. He's a winner. I think he's really. Sometimes when you're out for he's out for 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, maybe you get a different perspective on the game and on yourself. And I think I loved how he approached it, the way he handled his recovery, and I thought he really impacted that game. Lawson's an elite communicator. Our 2 best communicators on our team, 2 of our 3 best for sure, are Lawson and Raleigh. So losing those 2 guys at the same time, that really impacted this team because you can always depend on those 2 guys to have great voices. And so having Lawson back, obviously it helped with our depth and physicality, but I think we played one of our better defensive games that we played in quite some time because of his voice. Raleigh, I just don't know yet. I don't think it's imminent, I don't think it's going to be this weekend, and then we'll just have to see after that. I know he's supposed to be going back to the doctor here any day. And I anticipate no more than. I do anticipate him being back at some point this season. I just don't know when that's going to be. Hopefully soon.
Is it surprising the kind of impact Davon has had? Obviously, he's played a lot of basketball over the years.
Right.
To integrate with this group and the numbers he's putting in, if he played a whole year, he'd be up for Pac-12 Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Are you even a little bit surprised that he's been such a huge factor?
I'm not. Right, the portal is such a huge deal now in all of college sports, right? Doesn't matter what the sport is. It's interesting for us. Here's a young man from Atlanta, Georgia, and started his career. He was a top 50 player out of high school, is what I've been told. I haven't looked that up. Went to Mississippi State right during the COVID year, obviously his last 2 years at Georgia Tech. But we had a firsthand look at him because we played Georgia Tech a year ago. So in our preparations for them, it was like, oh boy, this guy is a talented guy. And so when he went in the portal, obviously we did our recon and, just all our protocols that we do and making sure it's the right fit and building a relationship. We knew that we play very, very different than Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's very much a Princeton offense, a lot of structure, and they played him a lot off the ball, and he's good off the ball. But we felt like we were going to be able to play him in multiple positions definitely going to play him more at point guard than he did at Georgia Tech, but not exclusively at point guard. And obviously with the injury with Raleigh, now he's becoming essentially exclusively a point guard, and there's some things he's still got to hone in on and get better at. But he's really bought in to our system and our style, and has done a good job. And he's surrounded by a bunch of really good teammates, right? It's a team that averages a lot of assists, like our team typically does. And so we have a lot of unselfish players, and we have a lot of versatility, and we have great shooting. And so there's a lot of space on the floor to be able to help him, be able to make some of the plays. And then he has that ability to go do that with his dynamic playmaking ability and the explosiveness that he has. And so it's been outstanding. But I think what's exciting is like he can still get a lot better, and that's a really exciting thing.
And what specifically would you like to see him kind of improve on?
Well, I just think consistency in terms of, especially on the defensive end of the floor, like he definitely does some really good things, but just doing the hard things over and over and over again. I thought he did a really good job against Colorado. And that was something that him and I had talked about last week, and our team needs that out of him, because I think he can be an elite defender, like a really, really good defender. Some of that is still getting used to, like, our style of play. You know what I mean? All of our terminology, our different coverages. That's something people always look at defense like, okay, can he guard the ball? But there's one thing to be a good individual defender. You got to be able to do everything. Like, so if we're doubling the post, what's your rotations, right? All of our different screen and roll coverages, right? Being great in transition defense, communicating consistently. You can definitely see he's making progress with the way he communicates, and that's not always an easy thing. It's easy to talk about it, but then you got to go, be able to do it, and then just constantly making the right reads, on the offensive end. I can't remember I don't remember the points. I know or exact numbers, but I know he was close to a triple double again, the other night. Got to keeping those turnovers down. I think he had 7 turnovers, the other night. That's always going to be a theme for a coach. Like, you got to be able to cut down our turnovers as a team, right? We had too many the other night. I think we had 16 turnovers the other night, which is too many. So, just small increments in different places that I think can continue to help him, which is going to really help our team.
Super Bowl prediction?
Are the Vikings in it? Super Bowl prediction. Boy, that's a great question. I haven't really thought about it. Boy, it's really hard to pick against the Chiefs, but I just think the Chiefs got to do it again. It's such an easy answer, though. But I hope the 49ers win. I'll say that. Yeah, I'm an NFC guy. Let's go. Represent.